Good morning. First, I want to do the obligatory gubernatorial brag, the boasting that we all have a responsibility to do for our states. Make sure you understand that Colorado is a low-tax environment, a high level of innovation, transparency. We've been building our economy from the bottom up and the middle out. But we also have world-class recreation, outdoor recreation, not just ski resorts, but hiking and mountain biking. We are a clean energy leader, one of the true innovators around food technology, not to mention cybersecurity, aerospace, advanced manufacturing, all kinds of new technology. We also have almost 40% of our state is public lands, which includes 39,000 miles, that's almost 70,000 kilometers of trails of one sort or another. What I say is you couple that with the 300 days of sunshine, and it is close to a paradise to live in and work. And therefore, we like to think that we have not just the #1 economy, which is what U.S. News and World Report just ranked us in for the second year in a row, but we also like to think that we have one of the top workforces as well. So that's the bragging. You know, the Space Command, Northern Command are both based in Colorado, and that has driven a lot of the technology in the aerospace, but that quality of life has also been a big part of it. I want to just take a moment to talk about foreign investment and trade, because they are so closely connected, and state unequivocally that Colorado is a huge believer in foreign investment and a huge believer in our companies and our entrepreneurs being able to invest in foreign countries. We realize it's a two-way street. I spent 16 years in the restaurant business before I got into politics. Before I ran for mayor of Denver, I'd never run for student council or class president, which is American democracy is pretty unusual. When I first opened my first restaurant in downtown Denver, in an abandoned warehouse district, the rent was $1 per square foot per year. So basically about $9 per square meter. And we opened, and I put signs up in the vestibule advertising our competition. There were at that time only 6 restaurants in that part of downtown. And my staff came up to me. I was a former geologist from the oil and gas business who had been, when the price of oil collapsed in the 1980s, I'd been laid off along with almost everyone else. And I gave the staff, my restaurant staff came up and said, you've never been in the restaurant business. This is dog eat dog. You can't advertise your competition. You're going to get eaten alive. And I said, well, maybe those other restaurants, few as they are not our real competition. Maybe our real competition is the TV set. And our job is to get people off the couch, out the door to enjoy life with their family and friends. And if we do a good enough job, and our competition does a good job, we will create a rising tide that benefits all these restaurants. And I look at that lesson, and just to give you a frame of reference, again, the rent was $1 per square foot when we first opened. Now the rent down there is closer to $50 per square foot. There are now 320 restaurants instead of 7. It has become one of the most revitalized downtowns in America. I look at that example as a paradigm for world trade and foreign investment. That if we do a good enough job and focus on the positive aspects of what we can do, what are the missing parts of investment in your countries, what are the different opportunities for investment in Colorado, we really can create a rising tide that raises, all the ships. A big part of this is making sure that we are training our workforce with the skills they need to be able to function successfully in foreign-owned companies. We governors love to steal ideas from each other. I refer to it as enlightened larceny. And In that same way, as we take an idea from another state, and you're going to hear later from Governor Gary Herbert of Utah, who I think is a master at taking good ideas and then making them better. But then, of course, once he takes one of my ideas, I'll wait 2 years, he improves it, and I'll steal it back. And in that sense, we look at our major trading partners and investment partners. So for Colorado, obviously Canada and Mexico, but China, Switzerland and Germany, Korea. And we look at all the lessons that we have learned and continue to learn from those countries. And we are transforming our workforce now from being the traditional approach to, standard American education until a young person is 18 years old, then they either go to the university or go off and find employment. We're using a compilation of best practices loosely based on the apprenticeship model of Switzerland and Sweden, but also borrowing from how they do trainings in Japan and other parts of Asia to really begin to create a skills-based workforce where one's college degree, and obviously a university degree is still going to be paramount for the best jobs. But we recognize that our entire workforce has to be able to really acquire the skills throughout their life and get competencies that will allow them to be trained and then retrained as technology, whether you're talking about artificial intelligence or automation, but as technology continues to alter the landscape of our businesses and our investments. So that's my real pitch here, is that we all need to be taking those best practices from each other in terms of preparing our workforce for the disruption and challenges that's going to happen. And it's hard to do that if we're not trading and investing in each other's countries and each other's companies. So if you take one thing away, well, I'll ask you to take two things away. One is Colorado is the best state to invest in. And then the second thing is that overall we have the opportunity in real time to dramatically change the level of security in the world. Tom Friedman famously pointed out that there's no history of any country that each have McDonald's of ever attacking each other. And I think that's, who knows how long that will last. But the bottom line is, if we focus on what things we can do working together and share our best practices, we can be part of making not only the world safer, but also making sure that our quality of life in all parts of the world continues to increase. Thank you very much.